One man's trash is another man's treasure. You go digging through enough garbage and you're gonna find something useful. And people toss stuff out all the time, stuff that is perfectly good. It just needs a quick touch-up, a run through the wash, or a quick stitch. But what do you do when everything is trash? The ground? Covered in trash. The buildings? Made of trash. The people? You guessed it, trash.
You can't let anything go to waste. What the hell?
I started eating garbage.
Well, if you're Rudo from Gachiakuta, you have a field day, because Rudo loves rooting through the garbage.
I'm the trash man.
Or at least he loves finding things that have been thrown away and fixing them up, from toys to watches to radios. And with how much the city folk throw away every day, Rudo has no shortage of stuff to tinker with. But what is Gachiakuta? Who are the cleaners? And why is our boy Rudo chasing this guy around with a very, very well-used plunger? And of course, what would the cleaners of Gachiakuta be in Dungeons & Dragons? Oh, and super quick reminder to like the video to make sure YouTube counts your view, and tell me in the comments what your vital instrument might be if you had one. And if you are watching this video without knowing what that means, first off, go watch the show, I will be spoiling some stuff. But if you don't want to, don't worry, I will explain that very soon. Welcome to the ground. We have trash, garbage, and junk. And that trash includes our main character, Rudo, who was thrown away with the rest of the sphere's garbage after being accused of murdering his own adoptive father. So yeah, not a great start for Rudo, but thankfully he did somehow survive the fall all the way from the sphere. How did he do this? Not a clue, but while he did tank the fall damage, he now has to deal with these fucking things, otherwise known as trash beasts. And while he does do well for a while, he is coughing up a lot of blood. Now normally here's where I would go into more details on all of the world building stuff and the lore, all that good stuff I can yap about. However, this series is still ongoing, and I not only don't want to spoil it for myself, I don't want to spoil it for you guys past where the anime is. So instead we're going to skip most of the background here and get right to the important stuff, i.e. the cleaners. Now I mentioned trash beasts before. They're giant monsters made of, you guessed it, garbage. They come in all different shapes and sizes, from as small as a deer to a big scorpion, and some can be like kaiju sized. And not only are they pretty strong, but normal weapons don't really do anything against them. Sure, you might blow it to bits, but it's just gonna reform. And that is why on the ground the cleaners exist, a group of admittedly really weird people who have the right tools to actually take down trash beasts permanently. But what these tools are depends on the cleaner themselves. This guy has an umbrella, this one has a staff, and this dude uses a watering hose. And these are what I talked about in the intro, vital instruments, an object that the owner cares and loves for, making sure it stays in good condition no matter how old it might be. And having a vital instrument means you are something called a giver. You give life to an object, but not everyone can become one. You again have to truly love and care for your object. It has to be something important to you. But that isn't really all that important today because everyone we're looking at are going to be givers, those being of course Rudo, the angry little trash gremlin, Zanka, who is technically Rudo's teacher in the cleaners, and Riyo, who we don't know a ton about. I also was going to build Engine, but so far I've seen him do exactly one move in the show, and one move does not make an entire character build. And for a few reasons we are going to cover Rudo here first. First off, he's our main character, and he has the most interesting build, plus we technically see him fight first in the show, even if he has no idea what he's doing. So Rudo had a rough upbringing. We don't have a ton of details on this, but we do know that his father was so abusive that it left him with permanent scars on his hands that are always hurting. And the pain is debilitating until he is given a special pair of gloves that help a lot. And these gloves were given to him by his now adoptive father Regto, who... Right, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, and things only get worse for Rudo because not only was his dad murdered in front of him, but Rudo is blamed for it and thrown into the pit without any trial of any sort. And while he somehow survives the fall, Rudo would find himself in a trash heap, only barely surviving thanks to running into a cleaner named Engine. And from here, Rudo gets a bit of a rundown on how things work here on the ground. Mostly that trash falls from the sky and collects in these huge wastelands that spawn trash beasts, and the worst of these wastelands are called polluted zones. And these polluted zones are worse than the worst landfills you can think of, with the toxins in the air being so strong you can be killed in minutes if you are not wearing proper protection. He also learns that spherites, like him, are not only hated since, you know, they're always dumping trash down on the ground, but their clothes and, body parts sell for a ton of money for whatever reason. Thankfully though, Engine is a cool dude and helps him out, getting him some new clothes and bringing Rudo to the cleaners where he can learn to use his vital instrument. Okay, well first he does pretend to leave Rudo with some guys that are going to sell him, mostly to test that Rudo is a giver, but also to show him to not talk about where he's from. And outside of his first fight with the trash beast, where we didn't see it a lot, This fight is where we first see Rudo's vital instrument really do its thing. Because while most people have a single item that they care for and use as their weapon, like Engine with his umbrella or Zanka with his staff, Rudo has his gloves, which on their own are just gloves. But they let Rudo bring out the true value and potential of other objects he touches with them, turning pretty much anything he touches into a weapon, like the chain he uses on the bandits or the plunger he traumatized Zanka with. The exact abilities of these items vary depending on the item, and I think how they were used before he picked them up, like this fence post turning into a protective cage, or a good luck charm that was prayed to every day for protection going and pulling some JoJo shit. There is just one slight issue with this. After the item has fulfilled its new purpose, being to help Rudo fight, it kinda turns to dust. And at first Rudo thought he was destroying items that still had life left in them, but it's more like he's letting them meet their full potential, and after that, they finally get to rest. Rudo also has a thing for sniffing out useful items from the trash, mainly things that seemingly still have potential to be used. Also, I think I touched on it a little bit, but Rudo is like always pissed off. He is an angry little dude. And he is so angry that even after fighting for a while and being poisoned with the same poison that took Zanka down with just one dose, he still had enough strength to get up and tell his captor off. Now, I did have a bit of trouble when it came to actually building Rudo for his weird powers, because they're weird and all over the place. And unless he happens to find two of the exact same item, he never really gets to use them more than once. But I think I found something fitting that is also still really fun. First off, I do want to say that yes, clearly Rudo is a human, but I think he makes an even better orc, with a focus on strength and con along with some dexterity, since he is fast enough to dodge bullets after they have been fired and take a beating pretty well. He also pulls off some nice parkour as they go through the series, and would regularly break into the city to steal their garbage. So I think a few levels in Rogue for the Thief subclass are going in before anything else. But as for his giver powers, well, first off, he's going to need Tavern Brawler for improvised weapons. After all, he is literally grabbing garbage out of the dumpster and using them as weapons. But to get all the weird powers, like typing fuck you into a keyboard and firing the keys at his enemies, we're going to need an equally weird class. And yes, for that specific example, the Bard would be a good funny pick. I have something better. One option is the Wild Magic Sorcerer. Cast a spell and you could trigger a Wild Magic Surge, doing anything from turning yourself into a potted plant, casting Fireball on yourself, or making a Flash Mob. But a lot of the effects of the Wild Magic Sorcerer are bad. Again, you could Fireball yourself at level 3, just outright nuke yourself and your party, likely killing at least one member. And while Rudo doesn't really have control over what abilities his objects get, they never really hurt him, which is why instead of making him a Wild Magic Sorcerer, which he doesn't have the charisma for anyways, this is him trying to smile and be nice, I made Rudo into a Wild Magic Barbarian. Which not only lets Rudo be the angry little gremlin that he is, but embrace the weirdness of the items he uses, since he has no idea what's going to happen when he makes something into a weapon. It might be an actually good weapon, or might protect him and the others nearby. Hell, the effect when you roll a 6 on the D8 table for the Wild Surge is just the good luck charm, even if it's not quite as strong. Oh, and the subclass also lets him sniff out magical items in the trash, so it's kind of a perfect fit for a little trash goblin. As for the other cleaners though, well, we don't know quite as much about them, both in terms of their backstory and any special abilities their vital instruments might have, so we're going to cover both Zanka and Riyo here. It's just going to be a little faster. First up, we have Zanka, the first person Riyo meets after Engine, and he kinda ends up as Rudo's mentor. He's a weird guy, but that can also be said for pretty much every member of the Cleaners. But Zanka is a bit different simply because he is the closest thing the ground has to nobility, coming from a very well-known and wealthy family that he may or may not have run away from, and we can't really get into why he ran away from them without going into spoilers, but let's just say he got humbled hard. From there, Zanka eventually gets found by Engine and joins the Cleaners, where he trains to get stronger not out of talent, but through hard work. And that kind of leans into his hatred for geniuses because, again, they get through life with talent while him and others have to do it through said hard work. And part of that work for Zanka is taking care of his vital instrument, his assist staff, a pretty simple looking staff that, like any giver, Zanka takes great care of, letting him turn it into a much longer and sharper stick. We see him use this against the Mud Lady and her partner and some big scorpions. With the most standout moments in each of these fights being his ability to sense vibrations in the ground through his staff, and reverse stabbing the scorpions in the face. Oh, and he does beat up this masochist guy with Rudo's help, but yeah, that's just swinging a stick really hard. And yeah, this isn't a ton to go off of, but I think I've got this. First off, human with the alert feat since he's pretty perceptive, have him focus on dexterity, con, and wisdom, with a dump in charisma since, well, his temper is almost as bad as Rudo's. And I think ability-wise, Zanka is going to almost be a 50-50 split between two classes. The fighter for the Battlemaster subclass, and the monk to make as much use of his staff as he can. Fighter gives him blind fighting for using vibrations to sense his enemies, but it also gives him know your enemy, letting Zanka sit on the sidelines and watch Rudo fight for his life for a bit so he can study the enemy. And Kensei Monk kinda covers the rest, for one making his weapon magical, and Death Strike kinda letting him do the spike thing that he pulled on the Scorpions, leaving Zanka with 9 levels in Monk and 7 levels in Fighter. Oh, and because I thought it would be funny, I may or may not have made Zanka into a Troll Pole with Polearm Master and Sentinel. Now, as for our awesome Riyo, she really only has one fight. Yes, I know there is another fight in like episode 15 or 16, but at the time of recording, that is not dubbed yet, and I watch these while I do other stuff, so I end up watching the dubs. And while she might only have the one fight, it is a fucking great one with her taking down this gigantic trash beast. Riyo herself is a really nice person though. She helps Rudo adjust to being in the cleaners, takes him around, and helps him break out of his shell a little bit during his welcoming party. She also really loves Hair, playing with Rudo's a bunch during their first meeting, which kinda makes sense with her vital instrument being a pair of scissors. On the other hand, she also really likes a good fight and can get overly excited about the perspective of a strong opponent. And in combat, her vital instrument, those scissors I talked about, grow to the size of a great sword that she swings around with her legs, decapitating or just cleaving straight through trash beasts in seconds. Hell, even when dealing with a brand new type of trash beast that had a special weak point, she just kinda played with it. She even gave it a haircut, just for fun. But yeah, outside of just being a big weapon that can cut twice with one motion, we haven't really seen any special abilities tied to these scissors, just Riyo being crazy and 1v1ing a kaiju. But that said, I do have a plan. Since I want to use the nature of her scissors with the double hit thing, I made Riyo again a human with Savage Attacker, but I also got her Magic Initiate for Long Strider since she is fast. I also had her grab True Strike for her cantrip for the extra radiant damage on the second hit. On top of this, Martial Adept Feet can give her sweeping attack because big scissors, big arcing swings, and quick toss because Ryu has a habit of just leg throwing her scissors across the room. And because I couldn't really think of a reason not to, I just had Ryu dive headfirst into the champion fighter, a full 17 levels of it. Grabbing things like Speedy, Charger, and Great Weapon Master, all good feats for a girl that gets this excited over the idea of fighting something strong.
Keep singing for me, big guy, because I know exactly what that song means. I found your sweet spot!
Okay, so I hope you guys are still enjoying the new format. I'm trying to stick with it. I can kind of feel my old writing style like creeping back in, but I'm sure I'll find a happy medium here at some point. I'm actually writing this like a month before it comes out, so by then we'll see how that goes. Anyways, we are posting a bunch of stuff all through December, including some free homebrew with a VTuber-inspired species you can play as. And for Halloween, I did make a Cali-based subclass, so you can go check that out here. And if you do want to support the channel, you can best do that on Patreon or by joining our memberships. But Patreon gives you a bunch of character sheets, items, feats, and so on. But that is going to do it for today. I will see you all next time, and as always, have a wonderful day.